All right, you are not going to believe this one. Today, we are breaking down one of the strangest and honestly one of the most brilliant takeovers in fictional podcast history. We're talking about the show Gastronomic Disdain and the time it was completely hijacked by a dog.
So, get this. The show kicks off just like it always does. You've got the super pompous host, Reginald, setting his usual high and mighty tone. He's all about, the finest things in life. But his introduction, well, it doesn't get very far.
Because bam! That's what happens next. A sudden, jarring thump. A paw slams down on the mic, and the whole fancy charade just grinds to a halt. The airwaves have officially been seized.
And here he is, our hijacker, Winston, a cockapoo who announces his takeover with way more style than you'd expect. He declares that his truths, muffled in drool for far too long, are finally getting their moment. And just like that, the battle is on. A dog is running the show.
Okay, so how in the world did we get here, right? A talking dog delivering a sermon on a food show? It's pretty out there. To really get it, we need to do a super quick recap of who's who and what went down leading up to this moment.
At the heart of this whole thing, you've got these two guys who are like oil and water. First, there's Reginald, the pompous, secretly insecure food critic who is horrified by pretty much everything. And then you've got Uncle Dave, a down-to-earth welder who happens to be Winston's owner and his #1 fan.
The journey to this point has been just wild. So it all starts when Reginald has to co-host with Dave and his dog, Winston. They kind of find some common ground in episode 1, but then things get really nuts in New York City when Winston just starts talking English, which literally makes Reginald faint. And the real kicker, in the last episode, Dave proves he's a master chef, exposing Reginald as a total fraud. And that brings us right back to the takeover.
All right, so let's get back to it. Reginald's credibility is in tatters. The mic is firmly under Winston's paw, and our canine philosopher is about to unleash his unique, slobber-flecked wisdom on the world.
He starts with some, let's call it unconventional self-care advice. He tells us to tend to your garden, then clarifies that his own garden is, quote, south of the border. And just in case we didn't get it, Uncle Dave chimes in with the perfect deadpan translation, means licking himself.
And this is where it gets absolutely brilliant. Winston takes these very normal, kind of gross dog behaviors and frames them as these deep philosophical truths. He says, slobber grows truth, and Dave just wryly adds that it also stains the truck seat. Winston's comeback is just perfect. Every truth leaves residue.
And the sermon just keeps on rolling. Winston preaches this gospel of just being yourself, telling everyone to slurp freely and judge less. Of course, this sends Reginald into a complete tailspin, and he starts shouting that he will not be sermonized by a mutt.
This moment just perfectly captures the whole dynamic. Winston's reply to Reginald's insult isn't just a witty comeback, it's a threat. He leans right into the microphone and drops this chillingly hilarious line, basically promising a baptism by slobber.
So this all builds up to the main event, the real core of Winston's message, his culinary commandments. It's a list of 10 rules for food and for life that are, somehow, incredibly insightful. Let's break them down.
The first 5 really set the tone. Thou shalt not fear grease? Come on! Never trust a man who eats soup quietly. I mean, these are gold. And the best part is the commentary. You've got Dave in the background saying things like slurp proud, while Reginald is just shrieking, barbaric! The back and forth is just perfect.
The next 5 commandments just bring it all home. We get absolute gems like, remember Taco Tuesday to keep it holy, yes, and fry with respect, never with fear. But number 10, that's the mic drop. That is the whole point of this entire sermon. Above all, cook honestly, slurp shamelessly. It's a direct shot at everything Reginald believes in.
So naturally, Reginald accuses Winston of blasphemy, and Winston, without missing a beat, hits him back with this absolutely perfect pun, saucerillage. It's clever, it's about food, and it just completely shuts Reginald down. An absolute masterstroke.
So, with his commandments delivered, Winston's sermon hits its final, powerful peak. He's laid out his whole philosophy, and now he's about to push the incredibly fragile Reginald right over the edge.
Winston launches into this weirdly beautiful food-based metaphor for all of existence. We are bowls of stew simmering in time's broth. It's completely absurd because, it's coming from a dog, but it's also kind of profound. Dave, of course, immediately pipes up with, I'm chilly with beer.
And here it is. This is the core of his entire philosophy, the ultimate takedown of everything Reginald stands for. Pretension is garnish on emptiness. Authenticity is flavor eternal. And Uncle Dave just sums it all up with two perfect words: that's supper. This is the knockout punch. Reginald starts shrieking about being upstaged, and Winston just calmly delivers this devastating line. It perfectly nails the show's entire theme of being real versus being fake, and it leaves Reginald with absolutely nothing left to say.
And with that, Reginald just breaks. He completely loses it. He shrieks, throws his papers everywhere, and then this, the sound of a chair clattering to the ground. He's fainted. It's a total and complete emotional and physical defeat.
So, with his opponent literally unconscious on the floor, Winston lowers his voice and delivers this final benediction over him. It's a perfect summary of his entire worldview, delivered with this bizarre, slobbery sense of reverence.
But wait, he's not quite done. He leaves his listeners with some surprisingly practical tips. And seriously, never reheat fish in the office microwave, before signing off with one last perfect metaphor. Life isn't some clear, fancy consommé. No, it's chowder, messy, thick, and deeply nourishing.
And in the end, this absolutely incredible takeover leaves us all with one big question. In a world so full of fakeness, is just being real, being authentic, the actual secret ingredient? Well, according to a slobbering cockapoo from Nova Scotia, the answer is a big, messy, and resounding yes.